If your game's more the video variety than gambling, don't worry. Vegas has plenty of ways to entertain yourself, though no promises you're going to waste less money. I found myself with a room in the MGM Grand near the end of the Las Vegas Strip as part of attending a conference for work, and of course had to take the opportunity to have some big kid fun afterwards. Didn't hurt that it was Halloween too. Problem is, going to some party by myself would basically be a nightmare social situation for me. Those are not really my people. Plus, I'd probably be paying for the privilege to stand in a corner awkwardly. So, I came up with some other ideas. First off, though, had to check out the famous Las Vegas Boulevard itself. While I don't really gamble, I am a big fan of flashing RGB LEDs. See my computer build videos if you haven't for proof of that. So it's an entertaining place to walk around, or take the monorail, because they have one of those. I did a couple long laps up and down through the many casinos, and you know what I learned? The crazy exterior themes are kind of misleading. They are very similar to each other on the inside. And that's probably because most of them are owned by only two companies, MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment. Yay, capitalism. The slots are at first blinding and shiny and pristine and endless, but after a while you start noticing, wait a second, isn't this just the same set of machines repeated over and over again? Yes, it is. Slots, tables, more slots, each with a ridiculous NASA-esque command center for sports betting, with enough TV screens to monitor the whole wide world of sports all at once, followed by stores selling things that were either stupid in concept, price, or both. Brand name everything, but my personal favorite was the Wynn's IV Drip Lounge, where they offer customizable drips tailored to your preference with guidance from their medical practitioners. I did like the food though, I'll give them that. I had some really stunning meals that week, including finally getting to try Gordon Ramsay's Beef Wellington. It was delicious, but the other steak meal I had was actually even better. Sadly, neither was actually inside the Hell's Kitchen restaurant, but we did walk past that too. My favorite of the casinos I did go through was the Venetian. I might have been partial to it due to being in Venice myself a few weeks earlier, but I liked that the inside actually reflected the theme in addition to the outside. Their lobbies are grand, but I was about ready to be done with casinos at that point. I was there because another thing about the Venetian is that it's connected to the Sphere. If you're watching Vegas for Nerds here, chances are you already know what that is. But if not, the Sphere is a spherical building coated on most of the inside and all of the outside in screens. It's 366 feet tall and 516 feet wide, coated in 580,000 square feet of LED displays on the outside. You see it online often because those displays are running constantly with ads and fun little images. And it's huge. You can see it very far away, and it's pretty intimidating up close. This is a 300-foot tall pumpkin. On the inside, it's a movie/concert venue, but honestly, it seems like they're still trying to figure out what to do with it. It only sometimes has live concerts, but that's not really even what it excels at. It's basically a proof of concept for the most immersive movie theater experience on the planet. They have the highest resolution LED screen in the world, and the heavy curve wraps around the seats to create nearly a virtual reality goggles type experience, without having to actually put on goggles. Not to mention the beamforming sound system and the 4D effects, including scent, wind, and haptic vibration in the seats. I'm not impressed that easily, but the tech here is really impressive. When the seats aren't in view, I can't even tell that my phone video is of another screen versus real life. The problem, though, is content. To take advantage of all of that, you need dedicated media. And they are struggling. At the time, the only shows available were a recording of an old U2 concert, or what they called the Sphere Experience, which is effectively their proof of concept technology demo of the arena. They let you into the atrium early before the actual show for quote-unquote 22nd century technology interactive experiences. We've already established I like fancy lights, so sure, that's neat, and the sound tech is cool to play around with too. But the animatronic robot conversations were too much for me. Maybe I'm an old and curmudgeon-y software developer at this point, but I am super skeptical about this tech. I feel like it's probably just a dude with a microphone in the back responding to guests. Not all that impressed there. And the movie is mostly just an excuse to play high-res nature footage clips wrapped in a kind of save the planet message. They're gorgeous, but for tickets starting at $100 a piece, they need to come up with some real content here. Now, some people are going to make fun of me for this next one, but as someone who sits on their butt all day in an office, I was really excited to find the company Dig This. Their business model is construction toys in a sandbox, but for real. There's still smaller ones for kids, but I went right for what they call the Mega Dig. 3.5 hours, $600, and you get to play with both the full-size bulldozer and the 30-plus thousand-pound excavator. I opted to start with the bulldozer, and the deal is you wear a headset the whole time to listen to your instructor, who's outside on a tower like a lifeguard at the pool, telling you what to do. My guy was Mark. These videos are funny to watch as I sound like a crazy person talking and laughing to myself as you can't hear him. You first learn the controls, drive around, and then, you guessed it, dig a hole. Specifically, the goal is to pile up a bunch of dirt at the end so you can ultimately drive right over it and see how steep a hill the machine can handle. Mark was very complimentary of my skills throughout this whole day, though I realize that is likely part of the job. The important part is he was a good enough actor to fool me if he was acting, and that's all my ego cares about. He actually seemed concerned that I made too big a pile. And guess what you get to do after accomplishing your goal? That's right, fill the hole back in. Rarely can you have so much fun doing completely useless work. I expected I would prefer the excavator, and I was right about that. It just feels more capable, and the joystick controls more natural. I was surprised that neither joystick actually drives it, but it makes sense that the arm and the bucket and the cab are all so intricate and have so many aspects that move that you need all the directions of both joysticks reserved just for that. There's like little foot pedals and push sticks to control the treads if you need to drive somewhere. We started by showcasing the strength of the machine by planting the arm and the bucket on the ground and using the hydraulics to actually lift the cab off the ground and tilt pretty far backwards on the treads. It's actually designed to be able to do that, but it's just for fun. With the excavator, I first moved stacks of tires and then dug and filled in another hole. Scooping through so much dirt with ease is pretty crazy, and it was a little game for me to see how smooth and quick I could get the motion. You have control over every joint of the machine, so if you think about it, in order to actually dig, you need to bend the arm to extend it, lower the arm at the point where it connects to the cab, and smoothly adjust the angle of the bucket, first out and then back in to complete the kind of scooping motion. Doing all these things together means coordinating the twisting and push-pull motions of both joysticks at once, not to mention the same in reverse to raise up what you dug, twist the cab over to where you're dumping it and dropping the dirt. It's actually pretty intricate and not trivial to do efficiently. I really do think this is one of those things where excessive video game hours aids the fine motor skills. We finished this off by playing quote-unquote basketball, first spinning around to get a little dizzy so it's not too easy. The cab can go around in circles pretty quickly if you wanted to. The game was very delicately lift a ball off the top of a cone and then roll it out onto a tire. I messed it up once or twice before getting the angle right. This place was a splurge, but really exemplifies the big kid playground experience, and it was much more fun, at least to me, than blowing it on blackjack or something at a table. Don't worry though, later in the day I went back to more colorful lights, this time at a building complex called Area 15, accurately described as sensory overload. I would love if my future basement was like this place, crazy lights and art and filled with different attractions and food and drink, including a laser maze, augmented reality dodgeball, and a hang gliding zip lining thing going along the ceiling. I got some food and tried my hand at axe throwing. They also had throwing knives. But the main attraction is called Omega Mart, put on by a company named Meow that has different interactive art installations in a number of cities. It's really hard to describe. It's basically like a warehouse-sized escape room, but there's no timing aspect, and everyone is in there together all at once. I won't spoil the story, but there's a whole storyline, and you can choose how in-depth you get into it as you go through and explore this kind of super weird, paranormal type place. The supermarket storefront is only one part of it, but you can see how they've made up these like fake products as an example. There's secret passages, multiple levels, and a lot to explore. You could make this a multi-hour thing if you wanted to, and it takes up about half of Area 15. I was actually there on Halloween too, so it was fun to see people dressed up.
Is it off-white? Beige-ish? Light fawn? Is acrid? Difficult spills lead to difficult dangers. A spill left unattended can cause equipment failure. If equipment fails, don't stop it or start it. Replace the echo cone with a new cone of aqua. Aquacone, aquacone, aquacone. It's equipment failure, never touch it if you're all alone. Aquacone, aquacone, stop. Never touch equipment when you see it in a spot, cause it's blocked. The box is getting hot. The cone is there to indicate the touch it. You should not. A cone should never be forgotten and aware, cause you're not a gnome. Is it where the problem is? What cone is it? Aquacone.
My last recommendation is actually about 30 to 45 minutes drive outside Las Vegas, sitting literally on the line between Nevada and Arizona since 1936 is the Hoover Dam. This is one of those things that is awesome to behold in the true sense of the word, a peak engineering achievement for the US. And you have a few ways to see it. There's a tiny, slow road across the top of the dam that used to actually be the highway between the states until 2010, when they built a bypass bridge about 1,500 feet downriver from the dam. And now that bridge itself is another engineering architecture marvel as the widest concrete arch in the Western Hemisphere and the second highest bridge in the United States. Over 1,000 feet long at nearly 900 feet above the river. And there's a walking path along the side facing the dam. That's how I got my first view, and it was well worth the walk. Then you can drive down to the visitor center and walk onto the dam itself and across that road on the top. Okay, this has got to be the most extravagant and unnecessary men's restroom I've ever seen in my entire life. And of course, I have to use it just because it's here. Gold-plated door. The visitor center was actually under construction, but they still offered tours inside the dam. They're not long, but you get a chance to see a spillway tunnel on the side and one of the generator rooms. I'm no expert, but I didn't realize that the Hoover Dam really is just a concrete block. The water that does pass through goes through one of 4 tunnels that run through the mountains on either side of it. My favorite fact from the tour is just how much concrete is in this thing. They built the dam high over the actually needed tolerances to try and make it more earthquake proof, and the result is at the base, it's 660 feet thick of concrete blocks. They said there's enough concrete in the dam to pave a 4-foot sidewalk around the entire equator of the Earth. That is crazy. This thing is huge. I also really enjoyed one of the pictures the guide pointed out on the wall of the elevator that took us over 500 feet down for the tour. Couple of guys working on the dam, no shirt, cowboy hat on, literally sitting on a pile of dynamite with a lit cigarette in his hand. Not a care in the world. This was a fun trip, and there's many more big kid playground type things you can find in Las Vegas, even if you don't like gambling. And when you're done, I'd recommend making the Hoover Dam the first part of the drive out to the Grand Canyon. That's what I did, and that'll be my next video. Subscribe if you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.